Thinking is a very important process. When you're young, thinking very often doesn't include anything too far in the future. A week seems remote, endless, forever. I had no idea who I would be in 2 weeks, let alone 2 years. More often than not, you allow other people to make decisions for you. Parents are usually those decision makers. Confronted with a man in a white coat who holds the life of their child at the end of a sentence beginning with should or must, most parents will accede to the clinician. No second opinions. If you think or instinctually feel that deep down that God of science is full of shit, your thoughts and feelings get jumbled or hijacked until you're the one who's full of shit. So right before I was released, when Dr. Fogel came into my room and said, "Norman, we're going to try something new here. You would rather be on pills and not take those god-awful insulin injections, right?" Our collective heads bobbed up and down like trained seals. "To do this," he added, "we'll place you on a 600-calorie-a-day diet and watch you very, very carefully." Not one of us replied, "Hey, wait a second. The kid's only 12. He's growing hair on his balls. Pretty soon he's going to be whacking that thing. 600 calories for an active and growing teenager?" We were frightened. Man, we were frightened. Besides, the folks were elated that I was alive and so thrilled that they wouldn't have to deal with needles that they didn't think through the consequences of what Fogel was spelling out. And I, of course, was thrilled with the idea of just being alive. The thrill was soon gone. I don't think I relaxed or smiled from the ages of 12 to 14. In the 2.5 years after stepping out of the hospital, I was petrified, terrorized about doing anything that could be considered remotely out of line in regard to this 600-calorie-a-day regimen I had to live within. As I grew older, I was hell-bent on doing anything that wasn't construed to be beyond the pale. I should say right now that my not smiling for those 2 years is only partially true. I should have said that I don't remember smiling or laughing with my folks for those years. It was different with my friends and sometimes strangers. I began to find more internal and external lubricant in my social world in my home, where a real sadness developed. At home, I had to have perfect glucose readings in both my blood and urine, or else I was accused of cheating, a new word that took the place of the verbal or physical no that I grew up hearing and occasionally feeling by getting beaten when I began exploring my new world and surroundings. Consequently, I became different from my family and even felt a modicum of shame when with friends and the me of a few short weeks before. I felt vulnerable, fragile. Anything could pull the carpet from under me, and I felt like everyone and everything wanted to do just that. That was the refrain I heard that went round from my mother to my father and back again. And even if we knew then what I know now, what difference would it have made? To me, to us? Somebody would have had to be a psychiatrist or psychoanalyst who was interested in psychosomatic illnesses to have even hazarded a guess. And it still could have been wrong. Nobody knew anything except what we were told. And instructions were to be followed to the letter. Pills were to be taken on time. Meals were to be eaten on time. Urine to be tested on time. When your daily reward or validation becomes a pink dipstick, the feeling of success wears a little thin. Hell, you're not really doing anything different than the day before and the day before that. Why shouldn't your piss be negative? Though, as I later learned, that negative glucose count doesn't necessarily have to follow adherence to diabetic regimens. Sub is ready. Great, let's see. 3 peas, 2.5 carrots. God forbid they're cooked and then their glucose increases. An ounce of potatoes, 1/4 ounce of meat. Boom, that's it. Good night. The one time we deviated from the German railroad and had Chinese food, my piss turned the test purple yellow. My mom thought I'd have to be hospitalized again and ran a bottle of piss over to my doctor's house, which I left right next to the milk bottles, and waited terrified by the telephone for hours for the verdict. He called and in a solemn voice told us not to worry this time. Just be careful. Careful. If I were any more careful, I'd be living in an hermetically sealed capsule with my food dripped in.